tips, and we'll
Okay.
go from there.
Hang on, let me remind me of recording sessions. Yes. Stop this. No, do not want to stop this recording. Okay, let's get started then. So, as you can see, where we're situated at the moment, we're on our homepage. Okay, so this homepage is important because you're going to spend 90% of your time in here. Now, what I mean by that is all your trainer access, all your workbooks, your assessments, all your study guides, everything's going to be found on your main page, and this is where we're situated. So, can you see where I'm highlighting at the moment? Certificate for
Yes.
Training and Assessment. Awesome.
Yeah,
So
that's the course I'm enrolled in.
that's correct. And on the right-hand side here, you can see your trainer, Michelle Christie.
Oh, yes.
Now, to contact her, all you need to do is just click on the speech bubble that I'm highlighting underneath there. And then all we do
Okay.
from there, we just click on it and a small window pops up. Sometimes it changes and it actually enlarges straight away. But you'll see, obviously,
Okay.
Michelle Christie, yourself. Then you got a message box in here. From there, that's where you ask her any training questions, anything about your courses, anything about your quizzes, your assessments, your workbooks, work placement. For this course there isn't any, but anything at all, anything about the course, don't hesitate to contact her because she's going to be inevitably your lifeline, in the sense that if you ever get stuck with any questions, she's going to be able to answer them for you. So if you've got any questions about this process in regards to just contacting the trainers,
Well, what if I ask a dumb question?
well, you can't really ask a dumb question. If it's related to the content, if it's related to your workbooks, your assessments, then there's not really a dumb question, to be honest. And we just spoke with a few students recently, and that was one issue that came up. They didn't want to ask a question because they thought it might have been a dumb question. In the sense, it's
Oh,
probably the intern. If you don't ask that question, then so not to be disrespectful, you're the dumb person because you haven't asked the question that you needed to be answered. So don't think of it as a dumb question. Think of it as something that needs to be answered, and
okay.
we're here to answer it for you.
Okay.
Alrighty. So that's how we contact the trainers. Generally speaking, it takes about 2 days, give or take, for them to get back to you into your response. Only because obviously they've got hundreds of emails prior to yours. So try and build up a bit of a sort of a list of questions to ask. Now, what I mean by that is, and we'll look at this in a minute, when we go to the workbooks or the quizzes or your assessments, don't just ask one question at a time. Reason being, it does take about 2 days to get around. I'll look through the whole of the workbook, look through the whole of the quizzes, and build up a bit of a database of questions. Ask 3 or 4. So when you're actually progressing through, as you go through, those questions are getting answered for you. Okay.
Okay.
So that's a really good little tip to use. So we can close this down and just close it obviously by clicking the X, and that brings us back to this main page. In terms of contacting the trainers, for this course, it doesn't really matter if you contact Michelle or Helen because they're sort of linked together, but Michelle's a busy lady, so it'd probably be better to follow the same process, but I'll also ask Helen because she's always on the emails. Exactly the same process. You just click on the message box, this window opens up, and then you just maximize the window, and hopefully that's loads. Awesome. And then exactly the same process. But as I said, it doesn't really matter which one you contact because they're both sort of linked in the same emails anyway. Okay, so from here we've also got student support. Now my recommendation for you is just give them a call. It's a lot easier. It takes about 2 minutes rather than 2 or 3 days for them to get back to you. So if you want something relieved like a password reset, you want a deferral due to illness, you need an extension because you're running out of time towards the end of your course, you just want to sort of ask some general questions that aren't course specific, then they're the people to contact. I'll give you their number at the end of this
Okay.
induction with
Sure.
also an email for myself and a contact so I can use it as a support base as well. But
Okay.
yes, you can also email them. If it's something that can wait, I suppose you can contact them through student support, and you can click on, again, just the message box. The subject might be, let's say, illness deferral. You just type in illness deferral and then the reasoning behind it. I'm looking to have an operation. I'm looking to have an operation on, I don't know, let's say the 28th of the 8th, 2015. I need a deferral from then till, let's say, January the 1st. The 1st of the 1st,
Okay.
2016. They will give you a buzz and you'll have to sort of prove through medical grounds, but that's a really good example of how to contact student support. Okay, so then you can go back there and then let's have a look at what's going to actually get you progressing through the course. But as we go there, you can
Okay.
see as we scroll down, you can see course materials there.
Well, there's a lot there.
There is, but don't get too overwhelmed because we'll run through it and we'll break it down step by
Okay.
step, because there is a lot of learning materials. I'll open that up in a minute, but there is a lot of learning materials. Now, that looks overwhelming, even off the offset, but we'll make it very clear and very simple, and we'll set some goals and expectations, and we'll soon make that sort of clear, crystal clear, so you know what you got to do, when you got to do it, and who you got to report to when they're done. But as we get there, we'll look at the course overview. To download that, and I'll do it now, you just click on the course
Okay.
overview. Then it downloads it. Sometimes you get a box document. Now, don't get confused with that. It's just sort of a, they call it an auto PDF generator. It just generates a PDF document so you can download it, but you don't have to. So we can open
Oh,
the
okay.
window up. So either way, if you click on it, you can see it online, or if you want, you
Hmm.
can actually download it, and that'll pop up as a little download as a PDF.
Oh. Oh, wow.
And then you can
Ooh.
have a look at your course overview. Okay, is this imperative to look through and know everything? No, but it is a good idea to actually have a look through it. Okay,
Okay.
so you can see here you've got a bit of an overview. Congratulations, step towards rewarding your career. If we scroll down, and I'll go to the most important bit, which is our order of studies. Okay, so you
Okay.
can see in total we've got 9 study periods.
Oh,
With
gosh.
it is a lot, but if you sort of break it down, it works out. You've got 12 months to do the course. It's about a month and a half, give or take, sometimes a little bit more per study period. So there's plenty of time, but as why we do these induction calls, we've got to get started.
Hmm.
Then you'll see for the first study period, what we're looking at now, we've got using training packages and accredited course to meet the client's needs. Now for that, we've got a quiz and an assessment. Similarly with design and develop learning programs, we've got a quiz and an assessment for that, and that's what we're going to have a look at now, if we may. So it's just a good idea to have a look at it. It's got all sort of other stuff, course durations, open space, all sorts of other information, a bit of sort of tips, 5 easy steps to getting started, which we're pretty much going through now. It actually goes through the assessments, so which I just said. We've got a quiz, learning design portfolio 2. That's for your first study period. So this is why it's a really good idea to download it, because what you can inevitably do is print it out and put due dates next to it and make it sort of a study plan if you really
Oh,
want to.
okay.
Okay, I do strongly recommend it. So for instance, this quiz, just off the top of my head, it should take you about a week or so. I'll allow about a week or so to do the first quiz. Similarly with the second quiz, so within about a month, you should have the first and second quiz done, and we should definitely be looking towards the learning design portfolio, but we'll have a look at all that in a minute. So yeah, you can print this out, throw the dates down,
Okay.
make some realistic goals for you. We can, on
Okay.
my side of things, I can even break that quiz down to say, okay, in a couple of weeks, we should have the first quiz done. I can give you a call, see how you're going with the quiz, and we can have a look at this second learning design quiz as well. So we can even do that for you. And then your support network. So this is important because your trainers and your assessors, obviously we've seen how to contact them. Your course coordinator is Michelle, so we spoke about how to contact them. This is what I was talking about, the support team. Student support is 1300 650 011, but that's number's actually changed, and we've got a divisional one. So we've got a 1300 number, which I said I'll email you. Learning support team,
Okay.
that's us here. And then we've got
Oh, so you're a different team.
we are, so then that you can
Oh,
clearly break that up. That's basically
okay.
admin sort of stuff. We're learning support.
Yeah.
Where I like to call it sort of the grey area between trainers and students. So we can sort of be that middleman to talk to the trainers,
Hmm.
talk to yourself, and help you progress through the course for the
Okay.
first few stages at least. Alrighty. Personal profile, engaging in the course forum, and then finding a study buddy. Have you got any questions about those? Because sometimes a lot of students do.
So do I have to upload a picture of myself
You don't have
for a
to.
profile?
You don't have to, but it's encouraged to have something there just to sort of
Okay.
personalize your account. And
Okay.
and at least what I would encourage is actually give a bit of a bio about yourself, just to give us an idea who we're working with. So
Okay.
if you're a 21-year-old female that's just out of school but wants to get into the TAE to maybe assess what you've been working with, maybe in the beauty
Hmm.
course, then at least we've got an idea. So when we approach you, we sort of know what demographic we're working with, opposed to say a
Okay.
65-year-old who's a little bit, is probably less computer illiterate than a nice young
Sure.
21-year-old. Okay. So as I said,
And with
yes, sorry,
the forum,
yes.
like what does that mean?
I like to see it as an online classroom. Reason being
Okay.
is because you got an option to interact similarly with a classroom, or you can just sit there and
Hmm.
observe and read. Either way, we'll have a look at it, but it's definitely a good thing, because anything that comes up in the course, you're going
Okay.
to have a look through there. And what I mean by that is if there's any familiar questions, sort of FAQs that are asked to Michelle or Helen,
Mhm.
they'll probably find that Michelle and Helen will address them in the forum. And I'll show you how to
Okay.
use that. With some forums, you can actually post. I'll have to have a look if you can actually post onto the forums. We can have a look at that in a minute, but if we can actually post onto the forums.
Mhm.
But yeah, when we need to, we'll address that as we
Okay.
go through it. And then find a study buddy. Yeah, again, not compulsory, but it's probably a good idea because how many times do you want to sort of talk to somebody? Oh, I'm up to the first learning design portfolio. This is the business I'm looking at. What are you doing?
Okay.
I'm looking at a skill gap, for instance. I'm looking at, say, customer service for a call center. What are you doing? Oh, I'm actually doing customer service call center as well. Okay, awesome. Let's compare and sort of share some notes. Obviously, we can't share assessments,
Mhm.
but we can also share some notes. So it creates online learning and sort of close it down to be a little bit more personal. Um,
Okay.
then online study sessions, Michelle's really good at conducting them. She does them regularly. The next one is I think is on the 6th or the 8th of September. Let me just have a look. It is on the 8th of September, Tuesday. That's the next online, and I encourage any students to go along
Is
with that.
that next week?
It is indeed.
Week after? Oh,
It
okay.
is the 27th now, so it's
Oh,
the week after, so Wednesday the 2nd of
okay.
September. Um, and oh, sorry, Tuesday the 8th of September it is. So you got a couple of
Okay.
weeks. And I do
Sure.
encourage students to go along that because pretty much any questions you have about the course, it can be
Yep.
an instantaneous reply.
Okay.
Alrighty, so that's your course overview. That's why I like to go through it, and for obvious reasons. As I said, print it out. You can set your goals up through there if you need to. I can even send you a
Mhm.
study plan after this if we need to.
Oh, so you have a study plan
We
template, I
do.
think?
We've got both. We've got two. We've got a TAE assessment study plan, which is very
Okay.
similar to that right there. Very similar.
Yep.
And again, you can set dates up that has expectations and everything, or we can send you
Mhm.
our learning support one, which is pretty much a blank document. It's like a study diary. And what it will allow
Okay.
you to do is delegate study time. So for instance, per week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday might be your study times, and you might want to
Sure.
delegate Monday morning 9 till 12, Wednesday 9 to 12, Friday 9 to 12. Put it up on the fridge, let everyone know, and also remind yourself that, okay, that's my study time. Let's get into a good
Okay.
study habit early.
Now, I obviously work full time,
Yes.
so between 9 and 12 wouldn't work for me, but
Yep.
what advice would you give for somebody who does work maybe full time or part time?
That's a good question, and it depends on the person. So when I studied online, I studied on the train. So no, it's probably not the most desirable place to study, but it's the only time I had. So it's what they call making compromise to actually get ahead in your studies. So
Okay.
you're not always going to sit in front of a beautiful desk and have everything in front of you ready to go. But I'd say if you're
Okay.
working full time, you're a busy person, utilize your time wisely. When you get an hour or so downtime, do some readings, make
Mhm.
some notes. You might have a
Okay.
couple of hours over the weekend, actually attempt those assessments. So that can
Okay.
also be put in your study plan in the sense that, say,
Sure.
Monday evening for an hour, you might just look at workbook content, make notes. Wednesday, you might look
Okay.
at the quiz. Friday, you might attempt the quiz using the notes and what you've just already looked through the quiz. So
Okay.
it's also teaching you to learn as well, because learning online is a lot different to obviously learning face to face, and pros and cons behind it. The pros are that you can do it whenever you want, and if you're a little bit organized, then it can be very successful. If you fall behind early, we've got support measures in place, but we do obviously want to start nice and strong, and along with that comes with study plans and our assistance to get you going. When I say our assistance,
Mhm.
trainers and learning support.
Sure.
Alrighty, so let's go back to the main page and let's get into the guts of it, and let's actually look at what I'm talking about in regards to your study workbooks or your student workbooks, your quizzes that you need to attempt, and your
Mhm.
learning design portfolios. Okay, so you've enrolled in a good time because we have got a couple of weeks until that next online sort of workshop occurs with Michelle.
Okay.
And as you can see on the bottom right here, I've got the 8th of September up in my calendar. So we do have a couple of weeks there. That's good because by that time we should hopefully have these quizzes complete.
Okay.
Okay, so what we can do now, we'll look at the workbook because
Yep.
that's going to give you the answers. So the student workbook using training packages and accredited
Okay.
courses to meet client needs. That workbook there is going to give you ideally the information to answer this quiz that I'm
Okay.
highlighting there. Okay, so and that would be our first sort of stepping stone in the such is because the quizzes sort of lead on to the assessment portfolios. And as I said, by the time we finish the quizzes, we can have a look at these assessment portfolios, and Michelle will clarify them in that sort of online workshop that she
Okay.
holds, and she's great, so she'll be able to answer any sort of questions you need. Alrighty,
Oh,
so
good.
have you had a look at the student workbooks yet? Have you had a look at the quizzes? Have you gone into the quizzes? Give me a bit of
No,
an
not at
overview of
all.
yourself. So you haven't done anything
No,
yet?
I've literally just enrolled 2 days ago, so um, I figured it was good to set up an appointment and
Yeah,
then get
definitely.
started after that.
Yeah, definitely, and I'd encourage it as well.
Okay.
Generally speaking, we've found students more successful that we actually take through. Reason being,
Oh.
you break the ice one, you get an external sort of support that's, yes, I'm actually a human too, and we open up the avenues for communication between the trainers, ourselves, and yourself, so that sort of triangulation,
Mhm.
and we can all work together to get you started, get you progressing. So
Cool.
let me go back to what we were talking about, the student workbook. This is going to give you all
Mhm.
the information you need to answer the corresponding quiz. Okay, and
Okay.
yes, there's a lot, but I like to look at the codes, not necessarily the titles. So there's another little study tip here, 3006-1A, that I can't try and highlight there, just here, 3006-1A. Whenever you see that code and you see an assessment or a written assessment, that you can assume that that workbook is going to give you the information to cover that assessment. Now, that's not always the case. It can sort of, some books do sort of chop and change, and there's a little bit of information from, say, the learning design workbook, design and develop learning program workbook. But generally speaking, using training packages and accredited courses to meet clients' needs, that workbook's going to give you the information to answer this first quiz. So what I would
Mhm.
recommend doing. Do you use iPads? Do you use your phone to
Yeah, I've
study?
got an
How do you
iPad.
generally, how are you sort of going to approach it? Are you going to print this workbook out? What are you going to do?
Well, I can't. I've got my iPad, and I try not to print out where possible.
Yep,
So I
beautiful.
may download the book if that's possible and put that onto my iPad.
Yeah, you can. You'll have
I've got
to.
Adobe Reader.
Yeah, perfect. Then that's fine. So if you use your
Yeah.
iPad, for instance, in front of you and have
Yeah.
the quiz
Mhm.
in front of you on the computer, that's probably the best way to study because
Yeah.
it's what
Okay.
they call multi-use screens or multi-device
Oh.
screens. Um,
Okay.
let's click on that then. So assuming this is on your iPad,
Sure.
it's going to download, and you'll see this is your workbook. Okay.
Okay.
So as I said, this is going to give you the information to answer all the questions for the quiz. So let's look through it. Just really quickly look through it. There's 5 topics all up. The good introduction is topic 1, introduction to a training package and accredited courses. Um, Topic 2 looks at selecting training packages and accredited courses, qualification of the framework, then using competencies, and then using assessment guidelines. Okay, so you can get a bit of an overview of what you're going to be sort of assessed on or
Okay.
quizzed on.
Sure.
Let's look at the quiz now, because obviously we've got to chop and change between the tabs because we're not having
Okay.
this on our iPad to read. But let's go back to the
Yeah.
quiz. We'll
Okay.
go down and we can actually look at this quiz now. So it's not going to time it on you.
Oh, okay.
You can
That's
preview
good
the
to know.
quiz now. Yep. So what I
Oh.
mean by that is, don't not go into a quiz because you think it's going to time out or you're going to have to do it in one big chunk. You can
Mhm.
come and go as you sort of as you want, as you
Great.
please. All right. You can also save answers in without submitting them. So what that means is, if we say responsible body for endorsing training packages, so let's say hypothetically the Australian the National Skills Standards Council endorses that. We click on that, and then we click next. It actually saves that answer. It might not do it for you yet, did it? Actually saves that answer into number 1, and you can see it saved by the grey highlight in the quiz
Oh.
navigation. All right. Now we read more in the workbook and go, actually, no, that's not correct. I've answered that incorrectly. Or yeah, that's fine. All you have to do is just click back on the navigation. You can, okay, the Australian Skills Quality Authorities actually endorses it. We can change our answers.
Mhm.
Click next, and then that can again. So then you can
Oh,
see
great.
our answers now be changed. So don't be scared to attempt things, and then
Okay.
come back and sort of test and learn if you want to throw around that
Mhm.
sort of saying.
Yeah.
What I would encourage for a study tip is have a look at what the question's asking. And I like to do it in threes, which is good for this quiz navigation because it's actually the the page of the question is actually in 3. So I'll be looking at in the workbook the body responsible for endorsing training packages, the 4-dimensional competencies are, and an accredited course must include. So when I go back to my workbook, that's exactly what I'm going to search for. Okay.
Okay.
Now with the gift of PCs, and this you won't be able to do this with your iPad, but you can do an actual Control F if you're using a PC. And on the top right hand side of the screen, there's a search function. Now,
Okay.
this is a handy tool. So if I want to look at, say, anything with national skill standards or the Australian Skills Quality Authority, relevant industry, if I type
Mhm.
in, say, relevant, anything with relevant in it, relevant, it's all going to highlight. So you can see
Oh.
throughout this PDF document, we've got
Yeah. Right.
32 um, relevance that occur. Okay, now if you want to
Yeah.
clarify that a little bit more, we can keep putting it down. Relevant industry. So let's look at industry. Relevant industry. There we go. And then you can sort of make the assumption that the relevant industry, that's going to talk about relevant industry,
Yep.
peak bodies, and then you can get the information. You can sort of start to answer the quiz
Mm.
by that. It's a good little
Okay.
study tip. So it's
Yeah.
something that I only learnt recently, and it's actually changed
Mm.
my overview on studying. Okay, so that's your workbook, that's your quiz. I've done a lot of talking. Have you got any questions for me about these two um, sort of documents?
So once I've done the quiz, like, do I have to? You said it's not time, but
hmm
um, I suppose, am I able to go back and forward into it a couple of times if
Yeah,
needed?
absolutely. So
Okay.
that's why I say click next, because what next does,
Okay.
it will save your answers in. We can actually close the quiz out. We can go back to the main page, um,
Okay.
and then you'll see if we go back into the quiz. We'll say continue from previous review or last attempt, I should say. And then
Ah.
on my page
Right.
it won't, but on your page, because it's going to be
Yep.
an actual proper quiz and it's going to be saved in your name,
Yes.
it'll actually save your answers in there.
Ah.
So you'll be able to come back.
Okay.
So if the girls call coffee, you got to go pick the kids up, whatever. You can do say question
Sure.
1, 2, 3, save it by clicking
Yep.
next. Log out,
Okay.
sign back in, and you can continue on from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10,
Great.
and so on. What I
Okay.
will continue on is when we get to question 10 and we click next, it should go, yep, it goes through our summary of attempt. Okay, so hopefully because you'll finish the quiz, it'll have answered, all those 10 will
Yep.
be
Yep.
answered. To submit it through to
Mhm.
us, and this is the only time that you won't be able to go back in it to edit until after we've marked it, will be submit all
Okay.
and finish. Now
Right.
you'll get a series of marks. If you find a WD, it's actually not a well done, it's a withheld. So what that means is you'll be able to reattempt.
Okay.
Okay, so you get a bit of feedback. It might find you might have question 2, question 4, question 6, question 8 answered wrong. That's
Okay.
okay. We'll say that they're answered wrong, or highlight them in red, and then you'll be able to go back and change them, and then resubmit, and then hopefully we'll get a better mark further than a WD, which takes me to my marking criteria, which is HD for high distinction, which is probably the best mark you can get. It's about 90% plus. A distinction is looking from 80 to 90. A credit for quizzes is actually 80% and plus pass marks, so you'll probably only
Okay.
find you're going to get distinction up. But credits
Yes.
for 70, your passes are looking around the 50s or 60s, and your withhelds are anything below the 50s. So
Okay.
it's a
And
bit of food for
does the
thought.
grading matter?
Well, yes and no. Depends what you want to get out of it. Some people are high achievers and they want to get high HDs for everything. And if that's the
Mhm.
case, that's good. But on your certificates, are they going to say you're competent or not competent? It's not going to say you've passed with
Oh.
HDs or passed with credits.
Okay. Right.
So you can take what you want out of that depending how you want to approach it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the first quiz. We've had a look at that. We've had a look at the first workbook. Have you got any questions for me yet? I know you've just asked a couple,
No.
but that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Okay, on my end, before we continue, I wouldn't mind setting you up for what they call a follow-up. So,
Okay.
as I said, well, it depends on your study, and you seem pretty busy. But how many hours are you able to sneak in a week for your studies?
Well,
Have
the
you even thought about it?
CCA said to me that I needed to do 10 hours a week.
Okay, so we're
Um,
looking at 10
and
hours a week. Okay.
yeah. Um, so I just have to think about, my schedule, I suppose, and where I can fit that 10 hours in
Yep. Okay.
during the week.
Are you a early bird or are you a night owl? So what I mean by that is, do you wake up
Um,
early or stay up late?
Probably stay up late.
Okay.
I don't like to get up early in the morning,
Mhm.
but obviously we all have to work, so I have to be
Yeah,
here
you got to
by
be
a
up.
certain time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your working hours, if I can ask?
So I do like 9 to 5:30.
9 to 5:30. And then how do you travel? Work, train? Do you train to your car?
Yeah, no train.
Sorry, it's just become very faint there. Are you there?
Ah, train.
Okay, so on the train, so we can assume, I know trains get a little bit busy, but do you train it
Yep.
to work and from?
Yeah.
Okay, so how long do you train to journey?
It's actually an hour each way.
So there you go, there's already your 2 hours a day. There's your 10 hours a week
Oh.
without even starting. So that's without even trying.
Oh, brilliant.
Now, study tips for the train. Have you thought of any yet?
Um, no, not really.
Okay. The reason I ask is because it's good that you're actually using your iPad. And have you got a laptop to use?
No.
Okay, so
I've got one at home, but it's big and clunky and it's
no, that's
a
okay.
bit heavy, so.
What we can sort of do then from your iPad, I would suggest maybe that you do your readings.
Mhm.
Your readings on the train, so that gives you your 2 hours. That already gives you your 10 hours a week just in readings.
Yeah.
Now, I would be making fairly sufficient notes, but of course it's going to be tough if you're a visual because I like to write things down. But if you can make notes on you can even do it on your iPad. There's documents, and I can chase this up with a couple of the trainers. There's actual applications you can use that will record your notes, and you can sort of highlight, copy, and paste into there.
Oh,
So there's
yeah.
synchronous.
Okay.
I'd be making your notes on the train. Then I'd be going through and trying. This is what we're going to talk about now: is trying to find some time at home to
Mhm.
actually get the quizzes done. Because what we're leading
Okay.
towards is sort of a 2 week turnaround for this first quiz,
Sure.
and we've got to sort of come up with a strategy to sort of find the time to
But
do that.
could I do the quiz on the train? Like, does it just use internet?
Does use the internet. Now, in terms of your iPad, I've heard students actually complaining that they sometimes don't get the best use out of the website when they use our iPad.
Oh, right, right.
But in terms of it, yeah, you should be able to do it. Bit of trial and error, but you
Okay.
should be able to do
Sure.
it on your
Okay.
iPad for your multiple choice questions. When it comes to your written, it
Yeah.
depends how good you are typing in the iPad, but you can do it. But I would
Sure.
suggest you actually get behind a laptop or a
Well,
computer to
that's
actually do
fine.
it.
I've got a computer at work and at home, so,
Okay.
I can do assessments from home or at work if needed.
All right. Perfect.
Yeah.
So then what I would suggest is we've got 2 weeks, so 2 weeks, and I'm going to bring the calendar up here. It looks like the 3rd and the 10th. So that's going to
Mhm.
be, yeah, that will still fall in line. So I wouldn't mind having that quiz done hopefully by the end of Friday the 4th. So
Okay,
Friday the
Friday the
4th here.
4th. Yep.
Only reason being, then we can do two things. We can start to look at the first assessment, which is the learning design. Sorry, let me go back
Yep.
in and I'll show you the first written assessment here, which
Okay.
is the assessment learning design portfolio, and that you can start to have a look at that, and we can start to talk to Michelle on our online workbook,
Mhm.
online
Okay.
workshop to answer any of
Yep.
those questions. But obviously, we're going to have to do the second quiz in the meantime. So what we'll sort of do, we'll do the first. This will be our attempt. We'll do this first quiz.
Okay.
We've got
Sure.
till the end of September, so the 4th there. That's
Yep.
going to be our expectation.
So that's for the first quiz or
That's
both
just for
quizzes?
the first quiz.
Okay, sure.
The reason is if you can do the second quiz, that'd be great. But I don't think
Mhm.
we're gonna have the time to do it with previous
Okay.
experiences, and I don't want to set something too
Sure.
high to give you a bit of anxiety. I want something really
Okay.
simple that you can hit and we
Yep.
can hit together.
Okay.
So let's hit that 4th of September. That's the first learning sort of quiz to do using training packages and accredited courses to meet clients' needs. Now I'm going to lock that in my calendar and we
Okay.
can do a follow-up. Now, what the follow-up can entail, I'm just going to put it here, and I'll show you my calendar where I'm going to put it. I'm just going to drag this over. So can you see my calendar now?
Mhm.
Okay, so I know Friday Eve, could you be contacted Friday evening? I work generally
Yeah.
12 to 8 on a Friday night.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well, I finish work at 5:30, so you could call me directly after I finish.
okay, so let's do that. Let's lock
Yeah.
you in for
Okay.
5:30. And
Sure.
I'll also drag my calendar in so we can actually make notes. So we made together, we've got to
Okay.
have this first quiz complete. First
Sure.
quiz complete. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what else? And I'll put some strategy tips for me to talk about. So we're going to look at the online
Mhm.
workshop with Michelle,
Okay.
and that will look at your learning
Okay.
design portfolios. Now, I can give you a little bit of insight on our follow-up about what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing, and how we should be
Okay.
approaching it. But the best person to talk to is obviously your trainers. Okay.
Okay.
Now, in the meantime, if you've got any issues about the quiz, I've showed you how to contact your trainer. So I'd be definitely sending Michelle a message, and probably should have received a welcome message from her anyway that you can reply to.
Okay.
Um, and if you haven't got one, you'll be getting it pretty soon. And reply to it.
Cool.
Let her know what you're studying. Let her know what your expectation is. And I don't like to look at long-term expectations yet, just short terms, just to start with.
Mhm.
Everybody's different, but I like to set small
Sure.
goals and we'll build from there. And I'll help
Okay.
you. I'll help you together, me,
Oh,
you, Michelle,
fantastic.
to build from there. So, as you can see, so the first quiz is complete. That's by the Friday the 4th. I'm going to be in contact with you Friday evening, and then we
Okay.
can go on and we can look at the online workshop with Michelle. We can look at the
Great.
learning design portfolios, and we can sort of
Mhm.
build and even look at the next quiz.
Awesome.
Next quiz overview. Okay. And that will be our approach for now. So that's a follow-up.
Okay. Sure.
Put it in as a call. And then in terms of that, in terms of setting the expectation and everything, you're good to go. But have you got any
Okay.
general questions for me before you start? Would you like to sort of, would you care to summarize what your next approach is in terms of how we're going to approach this study?
So for me, I suppose starting tomorrow, I'll be downloading the workbook and then reading
Yes?
that on the train on my way to work and from
Perfect.
work.
Yep.
So then hopefully by the 4th, I
Yep.
can have the first quiz done.
Yep, and that's the using training packages and accredited
Yeah.
courses to meet clients' needs. Okay, and
Yeah.
as I said, if you've got any issues, you've got Michelle, you've got Helen there. They're absolutely awesome.
Yep.
They're helpful.
Okay.
They will definitely answer your questions. They're very, very
Great.
good, very insightful. Um,
Mhm.
so let's leave it at that just as now. As I said,
Okay.
there are other avenues. There are activities we can do. There are appendices we look at, but I don't want to look at
Sure.
that now only because it doesn't relate to the quiz directly. Let's look at
Okay.
that, and I'm pretty sure Michelle will look at that in the workshop as well. But let's look at that on the
Okay.
follow-up, and
Sure.
then by that time, don't be scared to have a look at it if you want to. You can definitely download the other workbook. You can open up whatever you
Okay.
want. You can't break anything on this site.
Okay. Oh, that's good
Alrighty.
to know.
Okay. Now, that's how we should leave it at the moment, and then we can progress later on from there. But yeah, we'll definitely be in touch by on the 4th, and then hopefully we'll have that quiz complete, and
Okay.
we shall be good to
Great.
go. Alrighty.
Awesome.
All right.
Good.
Well, good talking with you. If you've got any issues either, I'm going
Yeah,
to
you
send you an
too.
email now. If you
Okay.
find that you're struggling, you're getting overwhelmed, you can't do it, the quiz is too hard, you can't find workbooks,
Okay.
you want to actually have a look at the activities because they're staring you in the face and you're getting a bit of anxiety, we can go through them later on in an earlier date if you want to. And the email I send you now is just going to be a follow-up with the goals we set, which is the first quiz complete,
Sure.
the date we're going to follow up, which is the 4th, and it comes directly back to me if you've got any issues. So if Michelle doesn't get back to you 2 or 3 days,
Okay.
she's busy. Sometimes you slip through the gaps. Flick me an email. I can walk over and say, oh,
Okay. Good.
alrighty. All right. Well, I shall leave you in peace. Good luck with everything, and we will
Thank
be
you.
in touch in about just over a week,
Okay.
and we'll go from there.
Excellent. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you, and we'll be, as I said, we'll be in touch very soon.
Okay.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye.